Howdy folks, just a quick update. Yeah, it's been pretty busy here with the RCs. I've bought a new rack to store everything, so I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a look around. So, unfortunately I don't have really any sort of light for the top except for the downlight that's in my ceiling, but as you know, that's my crawler, which is featured quite heavily on this channel. A couple of 144001s, my GV Warrior from 1993. My beloved Silver Fox from 1984. Second level, we have the Armour Felony, which again is on the channel. A little hotted up 144001 with a full brushless system in it. I think it does like 90 k's an hour. As you can tell, my little RC bike from Hobby King, BSR 1000R. I have driven that quite a bit, but it's very little, needs a very, very smooth road to drive on. My Armour Typhon 6S with a Louise wing. This thing's a hot rod, mate. I love 1/8 scale buggies. Nothing sails through the air like them. My beloved X-Max, which everyone knows what the hell that is. That's crazy. I'll bypass the ones that are in the foreground. My Losi Promoto MX, which is absolutely epic. If you don't have one, get one. They are the best RC bike ever. So much so, I sold all my other bikes, including the Himoto MX400. Nothing compares. I've also upgraded a little bit. I've got the Vitavon wheels, spoked wheels for it. A few little upgrades with the Vitavon road tyres. And we'll just skip these ones. My little Turnigy 1/14th scale rally car, which I've turned into a bit of a drifter with a WRX rear wing. My XRT, which again, it's pretty much just like the X-Max. Just as quick as the same as my X-Max. It's got the Hobby Wing Max 6, 2050 gearing. Few little tweaks here and there to just smoothen things up and make it handle a bit better. Epic truck. In a way, it's better than the X-Max, but the X-Max is still the best basher. This thing's more of a speed basher, if you could call it that. My Traxxas Ken Block Rally, which is pretty much standard. Awesome little car. I loved the Ken Block Fiesta, so that's the reason why I actually bought it. Very quick little car, actually, on 3S. Like I said, this one's standard. I don't even think it's got speed gears in it yet, but I do have a whole bunch of upgrades for it sitting in a box, but really doesn't need upgrading. It's really good. Now, what I've been doing, I've been very busy getting in touch with my old school self, being an old Tamiya fanboy from the mid-80s. So I started with the Avante. This is the 2011 Riri. I bought that about 2 months ago, built that. It's abs per box art. As you can tell, driver, absolute box art, 100%. I got to, went to MCI and grabbed Riri decals. Now the only ones I've added are the Bell Ray, which is in front of the canopy, and the Space Tech Engineering, and a couple of the other sponsored decals which are on the side, like the Weber carburetors and the K&N. Now, after I built that, I fell back in love with building Tamiya kits, and I bought myself two 959s. These are original 959s from way back in the day. Now, we'll go to this one first. I do have standard wheels. I actually got a couple of sets of spare wheels for these things. This one has been used. Body shell has a bit of damage on it, and the decals are a little bit ratty, but I mean, you know, it's a 30-plus-year-old car. I've done the driver cockpit as best as I can with my sort of skill level. It's both of them had a full rebuild, including bearings and a thorough check over. Now this one over here was a new build. It's never been run. Body shell was actually painted really well. The interior was painted really well as well, but I just touched it up just to make it look a bit neater, and I gave the drivers some eyes, so, which is like the most difficult thing. Again, this one has also had a full rebuild. I'll get these out on the bench anyway and I'll show you guys. It's had a full rebuild with full bearings, and I'll take these out and I'll take the lid off and show you the insides. Now, to add with the Avante, I've actually added a Technigold motor, a genuine Technigold motor. Unfortunately, the decal was actually pretty messed up, so I added a Team MCI decal to that. I'm trying to find something that's original, but anyway, you can barely see it. And there you see the Weber and K&N decals with the Space Tech Engineering. Now, I've actually had this running with some aftermarket wheels, and it did 37 kilometers an hour on 2S. So yeah, it's an Avante. Get a racing steering set. You won't regret it. It tightens up the steering like you would not believe. And for a 1988 sort of buggy, this actually handles really well. It was always just going to be an occasional runner / shelf queen. I really look after my my models, and these ones are just, these are like the ones that I wanted in the 80s when I was a kid, but obviously couldn't afford it, as they were really, really expensive. So let's put this one back on the shelf and we'll have a look at the 959s. Okay, now for the 959s. If you can probably see it, the body is a little damaged, but it's fairly intact. Now, if I can get these guys in the right position, I've done the interior. I've actually reused the heads that were original, and I bought a Marui Cockpit kit. I'll just put this gently underneath, and you can see it's actually a really, really good kit. I'll leave the details in the description of where I got that from. A lovely guy over in the States makes these kits, and they're actually quite cheap. Now, as you can see, that it's a very old build. There are the typical cracks in the wheel arches, which I've reinforced with a bit of hot glue, just to stop it from going any further. Now, the lights actually do work, which is really, really cool. And I'll flip over the back end of it. Now you can see that sort of corner there has got a bit of damage, which I've sort of pieced together. It was actually, they had a lot of tape on the inside, and I've added 1mm Kyosho trim tape to those lights just to even things out a little bit. But the body is actually half decent. I am tempted to redo the decals. Team MCI actually make re-read decals for them, and this is like the racing livery, which, as people know, with 959s they also had the Rothmans decals, but since of cigarette advertising, they went to the racing, and also different markets as well. So wherever these ended up in the world, that's how they shipped. Now with the actual car itself, now as I said, this has aftermarket wheels and tyres on there, because I'm actually going to run this very gently, of course. Now, I've got Futaba S3003 servos in this. Now, I hate using old school servos because they're sloppy as hell. But I've also put a 60 amp electronic speed control with my trusty Dumbo RC X6 FG receiver. Now, the shocks on these things are absolutely terrible. They were all pretty much seized when I got it. So I've done a full rebuild, like I said, on this car from top to bottom, which included the shock absorbers, dampers, however you want to call them. Now the plastics on these things, I can't really see it that well. Now the plastics on these things are extremely brittle, so you have to be very, very careful. So I've even changed the tubing on top of the shocks. Now after a full rebuild, they're a lot better. I ended up putting some Teflon grease on the shafts and just exercised them for about a week, because you can't change the O-rings in the bottom of these dampers, which is really terrible. But anyway, they don't seem to leak. Still got fluid in there, so that's a good thing. And also this one has, they do leak. There you go. Oh well, that's a shame. This one has aluminium arms back and front, So upper and lower. I think the only ones I didn't get with this one were the lower fronts. That's standard plastic. All the rest were plastic, but like everything, they all crack. And there's not really much you can do about it. It's just old, brittle plastic, and as you can tell, it has been used. I've given everything a bit of silicone oil just to make it look a bit prettier. I did get a lot of spare parts with this one too, which was really cool. But after a full rebuild, it's also got the beloved Technigold motor in there. I've left the speed controller in there with all the wiring and just added, like I said, the 60 amp speed controller. But everything's quite smooth. Also found one of the gears in the rear gearbox to be sort of had the top of the teeth skimmed off the counter bevel gear, so I had to order a brand new set of gears from the States, which were quite expensive. The original builder of this kit didn't put the bearings in that gear in particular, and it was flopping around and sort of, yeah, damaged the gear teeth. So I ended up finding a brand new set of gears for the 959/Celica, but I think these ones are actually for the 959 because the Celica ones are different. So I have ball diffs. So yeah, full rebuild, top to bottom, redid everything on it, and yeah, it's ready to run. I've actually run it inside the house, and it seems to run really, really well. Steering is very direct. It's very agile and sensitive to the steering. So we'll put the lid back on this one, stick it back on the shelf, and I'll show you the Shelf Queen. This thing is amazing. Oh, and these things are not cheap. All right, let's have a look at this one. Now, this was a Shelf Queen. This was built by a gentleman in Germany, and it remained on the shelf for a very long time. Now, he actually hand painted this, and a very, very decent job for a hand paint job. I will not complain, but also this one's very complete. The driver figure also needed to be painted. Now, I didn't get any sort of spare parts with this thing. Let me just get the camera in. But you can sort of see that. I'll zoom it in very gently. So I've done the driver figures, done the eyes. Now, the actual iris/pupil is done with a toothpick dipped in paint. I redid the belts and everything, so it was a very rudimentary job. So I just basically polished it up a little bit and made them look a bit more respectable. Now, this car is actually in amazing condition. The body doesn't have any cracks. Both of the 959s actually have their original bodies. And like I said, he's done actually a half decent job of painting these things. So hand painted, all of it. Like I've touched up a couple of little spots, and I've added the trim tape around the tail lights just to sort of even it out because it didn't look very even. Again, that's Kyosho trim tape. Did a couple of little touch-ups here and there. Now the decal sheets, well, the decals are actually, they're pretty dry, and a couple of them are lifting. Now, of course, the gold stripe around the wing, I mean, that's very typical. I mean, they're over 30 years old. So I do have MCI decals coming, but the gentleman that actually painted this up has actually done a sensational job. I mean, like around the little lights on the roof, I mean, I've touched up around the base of them with the black rim and, little bits and pieces here and there. But again, I'm sort of debating whether I actually change the decals to the MCI ones, so I actually have Rothman's decals. So we'll take the lid off and we'll have a look at this Shelf Queen that's never been run. Well, I tell a lie, it has been run. I've run it. But with the wheels off the ground just to make sure everything's smooth. And well, here we go. This is a Porsche 959 Shelf Queen. Now the tyres are actually quite dry, but they weren't cracked. Actually, none of the tyres that I've got 3 sets that were all brand new. They weren't cracked, so I put lots of very greasy silicone oil on them. It's like a silicone spray. And I've completely taken this apart. Now this is 100% original, including the servos that actually came with the car. So I'm just waiting on a decal for the resistor cover, an original one. All the arms and everything are all plastic. There's no aftermarket goodies here. It doesn't have a receiver. Does have the switch, does have the 2 Futaba servos, and of course the mechanical speed controller. Also has, just like the other one, has the wiring for the headlights. This one has actually headlights in there, and they both work. Both cars actually have working headlights. I've fitted ball bearings to both of these 959s. This one was built with a lot of care. And again, like everything, with you know, really old kits, ABS plastic does crack. There's no way around it, unfortunately. Now, the shocks have been rebuilt very, very carefully. Like I said, bearings throughout. Has the original Technigold motor in it, which I think I was the first one to actually run it. Now, I put this up on a foam block and just ran a 2S LiPo through it just to make sure it all works and it's all smooth, especially after fitting all the bearings. This one was actually put together really nicely. All the screws are in the right places. I've actually taken the 2 front body mounts off because it's extremely difficult to fit the body with them on. Now, I don't know how to actually get them on properly without bending and stretching the body, and I'm very, very paranoid about cracking an absolutely perfect body shell with no cracks in it. Like I couldn't believe that, you know, I managed to score something so perfect. But again, I put it all back together as per the manual, downloaded the manual, and rebuilt that all. Now, this one is only ever going to be a shelf queen. Sorry, but yeah, there's no way in hell that I'm going to run this. But like I said, this has full bearings in it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's yeah, tires again were quite dry, so I've coated them with silicone oil, silicone spray. So they've softened up quite a bit, but still I wouldn't run these. These are probably rock hard. It'd be like you're driving around on a skating rink. So I thought I'd update sort of my collection, where it's at, and yeah, hope you enjoy. These can be really expensive. I really don't see Tamiya bringing these out ever again. Maybe the body shell, but from what I've read online, that between Porsche and Tamiya back in the day, there was quite a understanding that these wouldn't come out again. I mean, if they do, they'll be on a completely different chassis. If you have a chance to build one of these, I highly recommend it. It's quite different to anything else Tamiya like, regarding sort of how they put things together. Like, you look at their cars now and they're nothing like this. But it's a very enjoyable build. So anyway, thought I'd show off my collection. I haven't been sitting on my hands and doing nothing. I have been collecting, I have been driving, I have been doing a lot of things. But yeah, these ones are really worth showing off. So, and I also redid the drivers on this one. I don't know if I mentioned that, probably did. I'm not sure whether I'm going to update the decals to this one, to the Rothmans decals. This one just looks so nice. I'm tempted to leave it. I also had to paint the inside of the headlights black. They weren't painted. I've touched up a few bits and pieces here and there, but apart from that, whoever did the body, yeah, did a fantastic job. This one came from Germany, whereas my first one came from Belgium. And the guys that I purchased them off were absolutely wonderful. Really easy to talk to, and answered all my questions. eBay purchases, of course. So I love eBay. It's the best thing ever. So anyway, just an update to the collection. Hope you enjoy. They are out there. You've got to have deep pockets, unfortunately. But and I don't really see Tamiya re-releasing the 959 in its original form. But yeah, they are out there. Be prepared to spend a fair bit of money. And there still are parts out there. You just got to be patient, and you've got to have deep pockets, unfortunately. But like you know, there's companies that make shock absorbers for them. or suspension components and dampers and bits and pieces you still can get, but you're just going to be prepared to pay for it. Like a full gear set for one of these to fix my previous car, the Runner, just to change one bevel gear, I had to buy a full set of gears, and that ended up costing me like $160 Australian delivered for a brand new set of gears. But I have every single gear that I'll need for these cars. This one I've actually run on a foam block just briefly to make sure that it's there's nothing binding, it's all smooth. I've taken a lot of care building this one because I know how brittle the plastics can get, especially after they get to this age. But I've given everything a coat of silicone oil and to make it look all nice and pretty. So those ones will last a lot longer, especially this one. This one won't get driven at all. So anyway, thanks for watching. Keep RCing. Talk to you guys later. Bye.